Hello, I'm Constitutional Attorney Katherine Henry, and this is a continuation of our series talking about the 102 most common legal definitions in civil cases. So, jumping right into it again, condemnation, the process by which private real estate is taken for public use without the owner's consent, but with just compensation pursuant to a court order. It's a forced sale for public use. And basically, the concept is one of eminent domain, and it has to be fair compensation paid because that is guaranteed by our US Constitution and usually the state constitutions as well. Contempt of court, an act that embarrasses, hinders, or obstructs a court in the administration of justice or lessens its authority or dignity. And there can be two kinds: direct contempt or indirect contempt. Direct is committed in the view and presence of the court, and indirect is committed outside of the presence of court, usually such as a failure or refusal to obey a lawful court order. Corroborating evidence. That is additional evidence that tends to strengthen or confirm evidence that's already given. Costs. An allowance to the successful party in litigation to reimburse him or her for the expenses of prosecuting or defending the lawsuit. It ordinarily does not include attorney's fees. So that's why if you win, depending on the statute that's involved or the court rule that's involved, you would ask for attorney's fees and costs to be awarded, because attorney's fees are a separate thing from the costs. The costs are going to be the costs of getting the transcripts produced or the court filing fees, things of that nature. Counterclaim. A claim asserted by a defendant against a plaintiff in the course of a lawsuit that's originally instituted by the plaintiff. So in essence, a counter lawsuit within a lawsuit. Cross-examination. The questioning of a witness by the party opposed to the party who produced him or her to test the truth of the witness's testimony, to further develop it, or to otherwise expand on it. In other words, if I'm representing the wife in a divorce case and I have the wife as one of my witnesses, I am going to use direct examination of her, but then the husband's attorney has their chance to ask the wife questions when she's on the witness stand, but the husband's attorney is going to utilize cross-examination to ask her more close-ended questions, whereas my questions have to be completely open-ended. They cannot be leading. I cannot be suggesting the answer in how I ask the question. But the husband's attorney can use those kinds of questions, and that's in his cross-examination. So he's trying to poke holes in my client's story. He's trying to show that what she's saying is not credible or reliable or something of that nature. Damages. Compensation recoverable in court by one who has suffered loss, detriment, or injury to his or her person, property, or rights due to the unlawful acts or negligence of others. Declaratory judgment. I have definitely pursued this as a remedy in court on several occasions where appropriate. It is a judgment of a court determining the rights of the parties, or giving the court's opinion on a legal point without ordering that anything specifically be done. A declaratory judgment is usually requested before the happening of and to prevent any specific act that could result in a claim for damages. So very quickly, an example of this is when I sued the city manager for the city of Belding I sued the city and the city manager in her official and personal capacities for a series of wrongdoings against me. And at one point, at several points actually, the attorney that was hired to represent her was also representing the city, even though they really had diverging interests and there was a conflict of interest and it was totally unethical, whatever. That's where my tax dollars went, was to pay for him to represent both the city council as well as the city manager. And in part of his representation, he told me repeatedly that I had no authority, no right to speak with my elected representatives, that I could not talk with the city manager. I could not talk with the city council members who were representing me, that even if this case took years, I had no right to talk to my government representatives in our constitutional republic. So, and he said this primarily because I believe it's Rule 4.2 of the Rules of Professional Conduct for Michigan attorneys talks about when you are an attorney, you cannot approach another attorney's client and talk to them. You can't talk to the other side's client without their permission, generally. But the rule expressly says this has nothing to do with when it's a governmental entity, because the person always has the right to talk to their own government officials. And certainly just because I'm an attorney does not mean I lose my rights as a citizen. I was representing myself, but I was still a citizen, and I was a resident of that community, and I had every right to speak with the government officials who were representing me at the time. So I filed a motion for declaratory relief, so that that issue was put to rest, that I had every right to keep speaking with my government representatives. Default. Default is a failure to do what ought to be done, but an example of that is when a defendant doesn't plead within the time allowed or fails to appear for trial. So you can get a default judgment, for example, when the plaintiff files, let's say I filed a complaint on behalf of a landlord because a tenant had failed to pay their rent and they moved out and they left damages, they left the place a mess. Then I would file the lawsuit, and if they have, let's say, 30 days to file a response, then they just don't. They just say, I don't really care. They can do what they want. I'm not going to file an answer. I'm not going to waste my time. Then I can ask for the court to find, enter a default, and then ultimately a default judgment in my client's favor, because the other side has waived their ability to argue anything. They're essentially agreeing by defaulting on their opportunities to provide an answer to the court on the issues. Demurrer is not used under that term in a lot of jurisdictions, but in some jurisdictions it is. And it was certainly used in the Aaron Brockovich movie. But it is an answer to a complaint, suggesting that even if the facts alleged in the complaint are true, they do not create any liability and therefore do not warrant any further proceedings in the matter. It's essentially a form of a motion to dismiss. It's one of the types of a motion to dismiss. But at any rate, in some jurisdictions, it proceeds under the concept or title of a demurrer. Deposition. That's testimony of a witness given elsewhere than in open court, recorded and sworn to for use at the trial in the case. So it's sworn testimony, and you're in front of a court reporter, and the attorneys and the parties are there, but there's no judge there. And there's no jury there if it is a jury trial. Anyway, that happens later on. So essentially what you get is you get sometimes, a video reproduction of it, but otherwise you get the transcripts from that deposition, and you have somebody on record saying what happened or how things went down or what their opinion was, if it's an expert witness who's deposed. And that testimony that's given can be brought up and used in the trial later on, especially if you need to impeach a witness, because they're going to give their testimony in the trial, but they may turn out to be lying or be inconsistent with their prior testimony from the deposition, and then you can use that deposition testimony and transcript of that to impeach them and show they're not being truthful. Direct evidence. That's proof of facts by witnesses who personally saw deeds or heard words spoken that constitute the facts to be proven, as distinguished from circumstantial evidence. Make sure to check out our other 5 videos in this mini-series, as well as our mini-series on general legal terms, criminal trial terms, and appeals case terms.